Welcome to the ANEW Insight Podcast, empowering and inspiring your journey to optimal health. Hosted by Dr. Supatra Tovar, clinical psychologist, registered dietitian, fitness expert, and author of Deprogram Diet Culture. Rethink your relationship with food, heal your mind, and live a diet-free life. I follow my guests' journey to optimal health, providing you with the keys to unlock your own wellness path. Tune in and evolve with us. Welcome back to the ANEW Insight Podcast. We are back for the second half of our interview with speaker, author, and Normalize the Conversation podcaster, Francesca Reicherter. Francesca gave us invaluable insight and just powerful inspiration that guided her to be this incredible speaker and author and podcaster she is today. She brings such a message of compassion, and I cannot wait to learn more. Francesca, welcome back.
Thank you. I love your intros for me. You make me feel so amazing. I'm just going to come on here forever.
Yes, and you can come on forever. I mean, you are amazing. And I just have to say, your story is harrowing. It's heartfelt. It's painful, but out of so much pain can come so much good. And that's why I'm not glad you went through it, but I am so glad you are here promoting this message. So welcome back.
Thank you. It's amazing how, looking back at it, how much that I went through, how great I've been able to make life in a way I never thought was possible. I never thought I would want to wake up again, let alone be excited to wake up and get to talk about what I've been through.
Yes. Thank goodness you're here. And I know you are going to make such an incredible therapist. I am so excited for you to launch into that. So let me just start with my first question. Your story of surviving these suicide attempts, they've given so many others hope and courage to seek help. So what advice do you give somebody who feels like they're struggling in silence?
I'd say the silence felt so isolating, and it felt so loud, which is weird to say. But the silence just really filled my brain with all of the reasons why I wasn't good enough and why I was all alone in it. And the best thing that I ever did was find someone I could talk to. And in the beginning, it was talking to my dog, right? It was just learning how to say it out loud, right? I still, when I'm really having a tough day and I feel, I don't know if I want to be here, and I have those thoughts come up, I grab my dog and I sit there and I hold her and I just cry and express what I'm feeling. And then I feel like I'm not alone. And my poor dog, my emotional support animal, she is, but just helps me get it out in a way that doesn't feel like it's all stuck in my head. And then finding other ways to talk about it. Maybe it was writing a blog that I posted online, or an entry that I didn't post that I kept to myself, or a journal entry. And then slowly just finding community where you can talk about it. You don't have to struggle in silence. It may feel like you do because that's what the stigma has taught us. That's what history has shown us with conversations on mental health, but that's not where we need to be, and it's not what you deserve. You deserve to feel like your voice is heard and you feel seen. So even if it's just talking to your dog or writing in a journal, getting it out is such a great place to start, and finding your community, the people who are there, is really amazing. I'll say that when I was doing the neurofeedback therapy we talked about last, part one, my younger cousin, Bella, she's one of my best friends, she actually came with me and would sit in the waiting room just so I felt like I wasn't alone in it. And she actually, I don't think ever asked me a question about it till years later, but she was like, I just know you are scared and you don't want to be there, so I'm there. You don't even have to talk about it. So even just finding someone who will sit with you in those difficult moments, even if you don't talk about it, can really help with that feeling like I'm suffering in silence alone.
Oh my goodness. I'm so happy that you mentioned your dog, because I know firsthand how life-saving an animal can be. I had my dog for 18 and a half years throughout like the majority of my younger adulthood into my 40s. And I can't even imagine what my life would have been like without him. His name was Huey, but I called him Tiny Healer because he just knew all the time how to take care of me. Really, I took care of him, but he really took care of me. And he was there for me at all of my lowest points. And I really advocate for people who are lonely, who don't feel like they have somebody that they can talk to. Go get a dog or a cat or whatever pet you need. Having that support and that companionship can make all the difference in the world. It can actually confirm, and it's true. A lot of people think that they're alone, but they're really not. It can confirm to you that you're not alone. And when you learn how to depend on a small creature like that, then you can take those little baby steps and get out there and find a therapist or someone to talk to, or reach out to one of your friends or a family member who's supportive. So I absolutely think just do that little thing and then it'll build on to itself. I love this. So why is it so crucial to address mental health challenges during adolescence and young adulthood?
Oh, it is so important. First of all, in adolescence as a teenager, so much is happening, right? I mean, just at the basis of your body changing and different emotions arising, that's one thing to deal with. But then you're also at that point in your life where you're trying to figure out who you are and where you fit in. And then everyone wants to know where you're going to college, if you're going to college, what your 5-year and 10-year plan is.
Oh my gosh.
There's so much pressure for a teenager, for someone who's 15, 16 to have the next 10 years mapped out, just trying to figure out how I'm going to get my chemistry homework done for tomorrow. So it's just so much pressure, and we're not equipping teens with the tools they need for the amount of pressure we're putting on them. We're not teaching them about coping skills. We're not teaching them how to time management. We're not teaching them small things, boundaries. We're not teaching them tools that can help them get through it. We're just piling it onto them. That's my biggest pet peeve, because I feel like everyone wanted to know where I was and what I was doing and what my life was going to look like. I remember my guidance counselor running my 10-year plan. And I'm like, I don't even know how I'm doing my calculus homework for tomorrow's test. What do you mean you need 10 years? I don't know how I'm getting to tomorrow.
Oh my goodness.
It's very overwhelming. I think we really need to give kids the tools. And then young adulthood's another point in your life where you're trying to figure out where you fit in, right? And where you belong. And there's all these messages in the world trying to tell you where you belong and defining what success looks like and where you should be, and all these milestones and what age they should happen at. I was talking to one of my friends the other day because we're like, it's so funny, when we were younger in our 10-year plan, right? We thought we'd be married with kids. And we're like, we're still trying to figure out our careers and finish school and get even started in the world. We can't imagine being at that place in life. But then on Instagram, we're seeing everyone else getting married, having kids, and buying houses. And we're like, oh my goodness. So just these tools to be able to catch your breath during it, and to know that life isn't about these milestone moments, and they don't have to happen at everyone else's pace. They work for you at your pace.
Yeah.
What's meant for you.
I think that the problem can really lie in social media. We talked about social media last time, and how it can either be a force of good or a negative force in our lives. And I think that the whole comparison game, I feel really fortunate. I'm aging myself, but I did not have social media in high school. And I thank God for that, because I think that added pressure is just it just weighs you down so much. So talk about that, especially during COVID. I think a lot of teenagers and young adults really struggled through COVID because all we had was social media. All we were doing was being online. So what did you experience during that time?
Yeah.
Did you struggle as well?
Yeah. Oh, that was for me when I started learning about how to recognize that I was comparing myself all the time. Because I was, during COVID, in Florida, so a lot of Florida was still open. So I was seeing a lot of people going out and doing things, and I was in my college town 5 hours away from my family, and I wasn't with them. So I didn't have the luxury of, first of all, quarantining with a bunch of people, or when things were opening, being able to go and be around a bunch of people. And that felt very frustrating because I was like, people are doing it and I'm not, to begin with. And then you had everyone online creating these TikTok dances and posting them and going viral. And I can't dance, so I was never going to be able to make a TikTok dance to begin with. And then everyone had just the most perfect backgrounds and the most perfect outfits. And everyone was saying that self-care was skincare. And if you went and spent like $300 on this moisturizer, life would be good and great. And I remember all of those messages coming at me in different ways. And the only way to really connect with people was online, whether it was social media or on FaceTime. It wasn't really that face-to-face connection anymore. And for me, that just became wanting to consume all this content to feel connected to people, because like I said, I wasn't around people. And I think that was the case for so many of us. A lot of people followed the quarantine guidelines. A lot of states required a lot more restriction than Florida. And a lot of people just weren't near their families to quarantine altogether. Yeah. So it was just so much content coming at me in every direction. And I was consuming it because that's how I wanted to feel connected and I wanted to feel like I was there. But all the content I was taking in was making me feel like I was comparing myself. I was feeling like I wasn't good enough. And I was allowing that to happen by scrolling through the same posts over and over again, saying, why isn't that me? Why doesn't my life look like that? So it was very difficult. That's when I learned that I can start controlling who I'm following and what I'm scrolling on.
Yeah, absolutely. That's when I created my course and my book, Deprogram Diet Culture. And for a big part of that was because of what I was seeing during COVID, especially with my clients, the young adults, the teenagers who were struggling with health and body image and confidence and really just tanking in their studies because of the nature of online study. I think it is so important, especially now that we're out of that, hopefully for forever. We really need to be conscious and aware of how much we're consuming versus what are we doing in real life. And I think a lot of people really tend to just isolate and focus online. I encourage them, curate that feed like we talked about in the last part, but also let's get out of our houses. Let's get off of our phones. Let's go out into nature, because there's so much more to life than what we're seeing online. And what we're seeing online is not accurate half the time. You're not seeing people without their makeup. You're not seeing them just roll out of bed, or if they're saying that they just rolled out of bed and they look amazing, they're probably lying. So it's really important to be discerning and to also limit that time. That's what you were talking about in the last part. I think having a time limit on our social media is really important. Well, let's pivot and let's talk about burnout and emotional exhaustion. I think it's actually become so much more common. So what strategies do you recommend for people to manage their stress, especially if they're trying to balance work, family, personal challenges? How do you do it?
I think for me, the most basic thing that I can come down to, I mean, all of our lives look very different. So it's hard to say that there's one thing we can all do. But one thing we all can do is find 30 seconds to take some deep breaths. Because when life's overwhelming, your heart rate is probably getting up a bit. And when it's one moment of stress after another, it gets to the point where a lot of times we blow and we panic. And we get into a really difficult headspace. So finding moments throughout your day where you can breathe has been huge for me. And it's been really great for a lot of family members of mine, because I'm always advocating to them, like, send me your schedule. Where's 30 seconds that you can breathe today? But also finding ways that you can break up your time. So maybe you have 10 things on your plate, but we can designate certain times for certain things. So for example, I'm not going to check my work emails or my school stuff between 6 and 7, because that's when I'm eating dinner and I want to spend time with my family and feel connected. And also after 2 a.m., I'm not going to be answering emails because I should have been asleep hours ago. So being able to find small spaces where I can dedicate between 9 and 12, I am putting my phone on do not disturb. I have certain contacts that, of course, can get through to me because realistically, I want to know what my family's doing if there's an emergency. My brother, my grandmother, they're going to be able to get a hold of me, but anyone else is not. And it's going to be 9 to 12 is when I'm going to be working on this one project. So finding ways that I can just make time increments designated without forcing one thing to go away, right? Without saying family doesn't exist in this moment, without saying work doesn't exist in this moment. It's just how can we make it a little bit more focused on what is right for me in that moment, and then just finding ways to take deep breaths, because it might feel like there's no time in a day, but there's definitely 30 seconds a few times a day where you can just take some deep breaths and ground yourself in the moment so that life doesn't feel as overwhelming as it does right now.
Yes. And I say this so much that I'm sure people are rolling their eyes at this point, but I really think it's so important to put the oxygen mask on yourself first, to really prioritize your self-care. Because if you are running around taking care of everyone else, stressed out in your job, handling kids, trying to take care of aging parents, whatever it is, and you are not putting anything into yourself, you are just going to head straight for burnout and you'll be no good to anybody around you. I also talk about this a lot, but I practice what I call militant self-care. And it's militant because it's mandatory. Like I have a very, yes, it might be regimented, but it's so necessary routine that I give myself in the beginning of the day. And if I don't perform everything, work out and have a, good walk with my dogs and a great breakfast, now all of these things that I really prioritize in the morning, I'm terrible when I'm sitting in this chair and I am trying to treat somebody. My mind isn't there. But when I take care of myself, when I put that first before I take care of everyone else, I could do it all day. And it is not hard. You're going to experience this when you get out there in the world. It's hard to go back to back with clients. But taking care of yourself first is going to be everything for everyone, I firmly believe. Now, you have created events and programs that raise awareness about mental health. Tell us about a particularly impactful moment or initiative that stands out to you in your advocacy journey.
Oh, I think one of my favorite things is I do a lot of virtual workshops, and I just really want to make it accessible to kids and meet them where they're at. And I think for me, the greatest thing has been having kids message me afterwards and say, I was really overwhelmed with this school project and I felt like the world was going to end. But then you taught me that I could take some deep breaths and I could maybe go for a walk or a journal when I'm feeling really overwhelmed. And then I was able to get through the assignment. And it's stuff that feels so silly, like that actually feels so big, because if you're learning these skills now, when the moments that feel even 10 times that may be not for kids. First of all, I do want to throw this out there for kids, when your entire job is your grades and there's so much pressure on your grades in your future, that is a really big deal. Later in life, it might not feel as big. And there might be things that are a little bit more big, but not to downplay what kids are going through, because that's really tough and that is your whole world in that moment. Right. But to give them the tools that they need before they get to those extreme stressors is so important. And I think that was one of my favorite things, was the kid being like, for this homework assignment, because I was like, I wish that when I was doing my calc homework or my chem homework, I wasn't crying and feeling like I can't catch my breath. I vividly remember a family dinner where I was under the table just shaking and crying at 16 years old at a cousin's graduation party because I had an AP Chem test the next day and I felt like the world was ending. Wow. So just, I think for me, that was really great, is having a kid come back and be like, I learned how to use this for this test to get through this assignment. I was like, oh, I wish I had that.
I love that. I love that. There's nothing, I think, more sweet and amazing than kid feedback.
Yeah.
It just fills your heart. I just think it's so beautiful. Well, tell us about the speaking events that you do. You're out there doing a lot. What's the biggest speaking event that you've done?
I'd say recently I spoke at Crisis Con, which was really cool because I'm at an event filled with amazing people who work in crisis services and want to learn more about crisis services for mental health. And I got to share my own story and what I experienced within our crisis response, right? Being in the psych ward and what I have been able to advocate for and helping to advocate for funding for 988 in the state of Florida, being able to help provide some recommendations for amendments to a Baker Act bill in Florida that we actually were able to get passed. So it helped me really get to talk about what I went through, what was wrong, really get to feel really grateful for what I've been able to do and feel proud. And then also get other people to see that these are still where our shortcomings are. This is what we need to be advocating for. This is what we need to be working on. This is where we need to get to. So I'd say that was my most recent one that I felt was really great. And then in March, I'm speaking at Eastern Illinois University. So it's my first time speaking directly at a college, which I'm very excited for because in undergrad, I mean now in school, I feel overwhelmed all the time. There's so much pressure on getting the right job and life working out and knowing where you fit in and knowing that soon student loans are going to be due. So being able to talk to people who are where I'm at is going to be really great.
Wow. How have you been able to procure these speaking engagements? Do they come to you? Do they know about your podcast? Do you apply for them? How have you been able to do this while going to school and trying to get your master's in psych?
It's been a mix. So sometimes I apply, like Crisis Con, someone had recommended me and they reached out and sent me like the link to be able to submit a proposal. NamiCon, I applied to. Some of them, they've found out about me from either my podcast, following me on social media, like the Discovering Mental Wealth Conference that I spoke at in Philadelphia. Bridging the Gap, I had connected with someone on LinkedIn and they were hosting an accounting conference and they wanted a mental health portion. So some of it is people seeing my work, following me online, listening to me speak and wanting to hear me speak again. And a lot of it is applying and hoping that someone will want to hear my voice.
So beautiful. And okay, you're so young and you're an accomplished author. Just tell people if they're inspired by your journey and want to follow in your footsteps, how did you publish these books? What were the steps that you needed to take to be able to do this and do it successfully?
Yeah, so I'd say first creating content that was right for me. So it's all, whether it's a book or a children's book, it's something that's meant to help me at the time. So it felt very personal and something I felt very connected to. So while doing it, it never felt like work. It felt like growth and it felt like I was helping me. So that's always great. And then I use self-publishing. I spent a lot of time trying to submit proposals and that feeling of rejection was really difficult. And we live in a society where it's really, thankfully, the world's changing where because of TikTok, because of Instagram, social media, you can sell directly to the consumer. So having that self-publishing where you can actually just promote it online and people see it and they want to buy it, you don't have to go those traditional routes where you need someone spend a fortune to be able to put your name in front of people. Social media, which I hate using, can really help you get out there and share your content with others. So for me, I took the more self-publishing route and was able to just create content. And when I speak, bringing them with me, it's very rare that you'll ever see me out in public without my backpack. And there's usually at least one of my workbooks in there, just in case I run into somebody who may benefit from it. Because when you say, how are you? And you sit there and are honestly waiting for someone to answer and they're honest, you may find out that someone works for the school board or someone has a grandchild who's really struggling or anything, and you can showcase the work that you have. So I also carry my stuff with me everywhere. My business cards are always with me, hand them out to all my family members, just in case you find someone. So really just believing, and you believe in your work and you're doing something that feels so close to you. You can just live with it every day. And I get to incorporate it into everything I do, such as going to the grocery store, my workbook's in my bag.
Oh my gosh. That is so inspiring. And did you have anyone who helped you or did you just put it together, go on KDP and hit send and submit? Like, how did you do it?
I just figured it out as I was going. I did a lot of research to look into things and just tried and failed and tried again and then found what worked for me. But I don't want to be like, oh, I've done everything alone, but I've done a lot of it on my own. Having a support system has been very helpful, and having people I can talk to about it and cry on those hard days. But when it comes to actually development research or anything that I do, it's been primarily me. So it takes a lot of patience, and giving yourself a lot of grace, because you're ultimately going to do it wrong 200 times before you figure out what's right for you. And that's really unfortunate, but super normal. So,
yes, but I mean, absolutely inspiring. And I'm hoping that people listening aren't feeling like there's a barrier. And I really love that you put this out there, that yes, there are a lot of different ways to put a book out there, and you could go the traditional route and try to find an agent and then have the agent submit. And it's a very long process, and there are a lot of no's, and it is really hard, but there's plenty of people who've done that. And if that's for you, that is a route. It's also so amazing that we live in a time where we can self-publish our own books. I think that is so powerful, and it gets the book right out there as soon as you're done writing it and editing and proofing it and getting all of your artwork and all that. You can get that out there immediately, and it can be in the form of an ebook. It can be a print-on-demand book. You can even go and find ways to create your own hardcover books. We live in a really creative time, and I think it's so important, if you have something out there that you want to bring to the masses, you don't have to wait. You can do what Francesca did. Just get it out there, make your mistakes, learn from them, and keep going. Francesca, you're so amazing. Tell people how they can find you. Tell people how they can possibly work with you or get you to speak for them. What are all of your links?
yeah, so thank you, first of all, for having me, and how amazing you've been and supportive. Love having you as my little cheerleader in this. It's been amazing. But you can find out more about me at francescareicherter.com or the nonprofit website, inspiringmygeneration.org. You can connect with me on Instagram or LinkedIn. It's Francesca Reicherter. And send me a message if you want to work together, collaborate, just need advice, support. I can't tell you how many hours a week I spend just answering people's questions of wanting to learn how to find speaking engagements or what to write versus not to write, what I've learned so far. I can't say exactly everything, but what I've learned. I'm just here to be a resource and help, because, like you said, it's so easy to feel like, well, it's too big of a step to get this and people are going to reject it. But just knowing small things that you can do and have control over is really helpful. So I'm here to help. And just Francesca Reicherter on any social media, and francescareicherter.com.
Wow. Well, I hope you all reach out to her, because she is one of the kindest, most compassionate, just good-hearted people. And we're just so lucky that you are with us and that you were not successful before. I don't minimize any mental health struggle, and what you went through was really harrowing and very scary, but it helped to shape this incredible person that sits in front of me today. And so for that, I am grateful that you did proceed through this journey to where you are now, and you are a force of good. And you getting this degree and becoming a therapist, you're only going to do more good in the world. So this is just a testament to how difficult circumstances can really shape the most incredible people. Thank you so much, Francesca, for sharing all of that with us.
Thank you so much for giving me the space. And you are absolutely amazing.
Oh, well, I feel like I'm just a mirror. I'm inspired. I am amazed. I'm hopeful. And so that's all you coming through. Thank you, everyone, so much for tuning into the ANEW Insight Podcast. I really am so grateful to Francesca, and I am looking forward to the next exciting interview and really hope you all join me next time. Thanks, Francesca.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning into the ANEW Insight Podcast. Please remember, the contents shared on this podcast is for entertainment purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. You can find us anywhere podcasts are streaming, on YouTube at my.anew.insight and at anew-insight.com under the ANEW Insight Podcast tab. And follow us on our socials at my.anew.insight on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more updates. Tune in next time and evolve with us.